Signal had an absolutely amazing idea to advertise their software. So if you don't know, Signal is an encrypted chat service. What they wanted to do was run some Instagram ads. Now, that sounds kind of boring. In fact, that's what most companies do out there. You'd expect something like an ad that says, hey, join Signal where you won't be spied on, while the ad they're actually running is spying on you. But that's not what they wanted to do. What their plan was to take these Instagram ads and run a hyper-targeted ad campaign that shows you what Instagram actually knows about you. This has been described online as the Honest Ads campaign, and what it was effectively doing was showing you firsthand why privacy was important. Because it's all well and good to say, oh, privacy is important online, but most people who use Facebook just share stuff without really thinking about it. But if you have that information sent directly back to you, it has a much different effect. I think most people who use Facebook have an understanding that everything you do on there is going to be tracked. Even the most boomer of boomers who use Facebook understand that if you share something on Facebook, then it's going to be harvested to do something with that data. They know what you share, they know where you go, they know general information about you, but when you ask someone who uses Facebook, they'll usually say something like, oh, I don't really care about it, I have nothing to hide. And I think the reason why people can still say that is because the creepiest ads you really see on Facebook are those hyper-targeted shopping ads where you'll like look up, say, a washing machine, and then all of the shopping ads on Facebook will be nothing but washing machines. Or you'll look up something like a dating website, and then everything you will see will be nothing but dating websites. But this takes it a step further by showing you how they're actually targeting you. So one example of this would have been, you got this ad because you're a newlywed Pilates instructor and you're cartoon crazy. This ad used your location to see you're in La Jolla, you're into parenting blogs, and thinking about LGBTQ adoption. And there's a bunch of other examples on here as well, like, you got this ad because you're a K-pop loving chemical engineer. This ad used your location to see you're in Berlin, and you have a new baby, and you just moved, and you're really feeling those pregnancy exercises lately. And you should sort of get the idea now. Companies like Facebook aren't building technology for you, they're building technology for your data. They collect everything they can from Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp in order to sell visibility into people and their lives. Really, these ads are no different from what you're already receiving. When you get an ad for something like a new game that's coming out, or a crypto marketplace, or a shaving service, the reason why you're specifically being shown that ad is because your profile that Facebook has built about you matches the criteria for that advertisement, except that when you normally receive an ad, it's not entirely clear why you were the one shown that ad. This, however, makes it very obviously clear. Now, on Facebook, I believe you still can access your targeting profile if you are curious how ads are actually targeting you. It's just hidden inside of like 5 or 10 different menus because Facebook doesn't want you to see the information, but they sort of have to give you some way to see it to be compliant with GDPR. But because it's hidden inside of a bunch of menus, no one really checks it, so ads like this would be really, really confronting. Now, because of this advertising campaign, Signal claims that this led to Facebook blocking access to their ad account. Now, this is where the story gets kind of interesting, because Facebook is claiming that Signal just never tried to run this ad campaign altogether. Over on Twitter, we have a response from Joe Osborne, a Facebook spokesperson. He says, "This is a stunt by Signal, who never even tried to run these ads. If Signal had tried to run these ads, a couple of them would have been rejected because our advertising policies prohibit ads that assert that you have a specific medical condition or sexual orientation, as Signal should know." But of course, running the ads was never their goal, it was about getting publicity. That's sort of the whole point of an advertising campaign. Yes. But there's a couple of interesting points being made here. So you can't assert that someone has a medical condition or a specific sexual orientation, but you can target based on those characteristics. So let's say you want to go and sell some hemorrhoid medication. You're going to want to target someone who actually needs that, but by targeting that person who needs the medication, that is asserting they need the medication. Or let's say you have a dating service where you want to bring in more gay users, for example. You're probably going to show a gay couple in that ad because that's what they're trying to look for. But doing so would assert that that person has a specific sexual orientation. I don't understand this policy, but it is their policy. Also, they're not denying the main problem, which is the fact that Facebook does collect this data and does build these profiles about you. That is the problem here, not the fact that maybe Signal is just pulling a stunt. Now, Signal does have some screenshots they're using as proof. However, these screenshots are of questionable validity. So these are the two they're using, and while these do look like, yeah, their ad account was disabled, there's some weird things about it. So this campaign right here, it says it's restricted, but the number of ads rejected isn't listed. So clearly none of the ads were rejected in their image. Maybe that's something weird on the back end there, I'm not entirely sure. Also, on this second one, it says this month, March 1st to March 4th. So this month would imply that this was from 2 months ago, but they say they tried to run the campaign in May. So whether they're lying or not is still up for debate. And the Facebook spokesperson does hit back by saying these screenshots are from early March when the ad account was briefly disabled for a few days due to an unrelated payments issue. The ads themselves were never rejected as they were never set by Signal to run. The ad account has been available since early March, and the ads that don't violate our policies could have run since then. Ultimately, I don't know who's actually lying here. What I do know is that Facebook has a very, very long history when it comes to lying to get themselves out of controversy. Lying way back in the day saying they weren't collecting this information altogether, lying when it came to them selling the data to external services, and I'm sure there's been plenty of other instances along the way, especially every time that Mark Zuckerberg has to go speak to Congress. Signal, on the other hand, I'm fairly indifferent about. I don't think they're very trustworthy or think they're lying. I don't really have much of an opinion on them. They can very easily prove they're not lying by providing extra screenshots from their ad account. I don't know if any have showed up. I haven't heard about any. I'm pretty sure if they had, I would have seen them. But at this point, I don't think Facebook can really say anything or show anything that's actually going to prove that they're the ones entirely in the right. Facebook has such a bad reputation that no matter what they do, even if they have concrete evidence that cannot be fabricated, there will always be someone that says, no, Facebook is trying to deceive you, which, to be fair, isn't a bad position to hold. Now, someone did bring up an interesting point about this entire campaign. Please tell me your targeting parameters weren't just something like this, and then they show an image where you have the targeting parameters set to something hyper-targeted, because that's a fudge and stretching the truth. Now, that's entirely nonsense, because that's the whole point of the campaign. They never said that they were just generating these dynamically. Nowhere in the blog they posted did they say that all of these were made automatically. If they're made manually, it doesn't really matter. It's the exact same result. If you have to just make a bunch of campaigns to do this, well, that's the way you're going to do it. In the end, it's still going to be showing you the information in your targeting profile. Throughout this entire thing, people have been saying, oh, this is just a big marketing stunt. And yes, regardless of whether the ads are real or not, doesn't matter. It's still really good publicity for Signal, and even if it's entirely fake, what it does is shines a light on why privacy is really important, and it's going to encourage more people to try out things like tracking blockers, and maybe encourage more people to actually stop using Facebook as much, and maybe even just stop using it altogether. The only reason I still have a Facebook account is because in Australia, using Messenger to communicate with people is just the general way people do stuff. And I would love that not to be the case, but for now, that's sort of just the way it is. So I think that's pretty much everything for me. Let me know what you think about this entire situation in the comment section down below. But before I go, I would like to thank my supporters. So a special thank you to Joachim, Donald, Logan, Michael, Andre, Nathan, David, Will, Brennan, Chickabender, Jamie Joseph, Josh, Mitchell, Peter, Stephen Thero, Tony Tushar, and all of my $2 supporters. If you'd like to support my work, the links down below to my Patreon, Subscribe Star, LibrePay, all that sort of stuff. I've got my podcast, Tech Over Tea, available basically anywhere, and then this channel is available on Odyssey and BitChute if you'd like to watch on a platform that isn't YouTube. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.